Ideally, the layout of an emergency shelter should allow people with disabilities to understand and access without assistance all the areas within a facility, like information counters, restrooms, and eating and sleeping areas. All doors should have a 32-inch clear opening. To measure the clear opening of a standard hinged door, open the door 90 degrees. Put the end of the tape measure on the side of the door frame next to the clear opening. Stretch the tape across the door opening to the face of the door. This measures the clear width of the door opening through which people pass, which is less than the width of the door itself. If this space isn't available, you could remove furnishings or other obstacles. Or you could prop the door open during the emergency. Next, make sure all door hardware can be operated with a closed fist. That is, make sure you can open a door without any tight grasping or twisting of the wrist. If you can't open a door with a closed fist, you can prop it open, or grate grips are an inexpensive way to retrofit round doorknobs. Another solution for a hard-to-open door is to replace the knob with a lever or retrofit it with a lever extension.
The circulation route through hallways and corridors to all interior areas should be at least 36 inches wide. If pathways are too narrow, they're not accessible, and you may have to move furnishings like tables and chairs or put up signs to indicate a better route. Any object that protrudes into the circulation route must be detectable by a person with a visual impairment using a cane. The bottoms of drinking fountains should not be higher than 27 inches. Wall-mounted objects like fire extinguishers and lighting fixtures cannot protrude more than 4 inches unless they are below 27 inches or above 80 inches from the floor. And overhead objects must be above 80 inches. If you can't remove the protrusion, place a physical object under the protrusion like a planter or bench to serve as a warning. Open staircases can be an extremely dangerous obstruction. When the underside of a stair is open, it's a hazard to people who are blind or have low vision. Enclosing the area below the stair or installing a cane-detectable barrier like a bench or planter helps the person avoid the area. Interior signs identifying room numbers, permanent room names, exits, and restrooms must have raised characters and braille and a font style that is easy to read. These signs must be on the wall on the latch side of the door, not the hinge side. They must also be within the reach range of 48 to 60 inches above the floor. 60 inches is a good height. As for directional signs and informational signs, they do not need the raised letters or braille. A shelter usually has one or more check-in areas near the shelter's entrance. The accessible check-in area should be at the accessible entrance, or signs should give directions to the accessible check-in area. Check-in areas must have at least one accessible check-in location. That location must have a writing surface that is no more than 36 inches high and at least 36 inches wide for people who use a wheelchair, scooter, or other mobility device. This may be part of the reception counter itself, a folding shelf, an adjacent table, or a clipboard. There must be an accessible route to and throughout the food service and eating areas of the shelter. This route must be at least 36 inches wide and must not have steps or steep slopes. That will allow people who use wheelchairs, scooters, and other mobility devices to get to all the food and drinks and accessible tables and seating. For the food and drink items, make sure all controls for public use are at an accessible height and require no more than 5 pounds of pressure to operate. If necessary, these items could be placed at a lower level or on a nearby table. And for tables and seating, spaces for wheelchair seating must be distributed throughout the eating area. The aisles between fixed seating must be at least 36 inches wide. Each accessible bed or cot must connect to an accessible route that connects to other activity areas, including restrooms and bathing areas. The accessible route should have adequate circulation and maneuvering space in the sleeping area so that a person who uses a wheelchair can move about safely. 36 inches is the standard, but 48 inches is preferred. It's best to place accessible cots next to a wall, and cots should be 17 to 19 inches above the floor for easier transfer from a wheelchair or scooter. In general, each shelter should have electrical outlets and one or more backup generators, so evacuees with a disability can have access to electrical power. If the usual electrical service is available, an appropriate number of electrical outlets needs to be on an accessible 36-inch wide route and at least 15 inches above the floor. If the outlets are too low, one solution is to use extension cords. This is critical for people who need to operate supplemental oxygen, charge the batteries in their wheelchairs or scooters, or to refrigerate medicines. Heavy-duty coolers are also helpful for storing medicines. At least one set of restrooms serving the shelter must be accessible to people who use a wheelchair or other mobility device. Restroom signs should have raised letters and braille mounted on the wall adjacent to the latch at a height of about 60 inches. If there is an existing sign on the door, leave it and add a proper sign on the wall. The restroom door should provide at least 32 inches of clear passage. On the pull side, there should be at least 18 inches of clearance on the latch side of the door, so people using wheelchairs and walkers may position themselves to the side without having to back up. If obstacles like trash bins are in the way, they should be moved. Inside the restroom, there must be an area roughly 60 inches in diameter, where a person who uses a wheelchair or other mobility device can turn around. Also, in front of every element, like sinks, dispensers, and urinals, there should be a clear floor space of 30 by 48 inches. This space can overlap the turning circle, like the yellow rectangle in the picture. There must be at least one wide toilet stall with an outswinging door, side and rear grab bars, and clear floor space next to the toilet. If not, see if there is another more accessible stall available, and put up signs directing people to its location. An outswinging door is not necessary if the stall is located at the end of a row of toilet stalls where there is more space. Accessible toilets should be 17 to 19 inches above the floor and 16 to 18 inches from the near wall. They should have a 60-inch diameter circle next to it and grab bars on the side and rear. Grab bars should be 33 to 36 inches above the floor. Sinks should have a clearance of 27 inches under the front overhang and no more than 34 inches to the top of the rim. Also, all exposed pipes should be wrapped. Soap, paper, towels, hand dryers, and other dispensers must be within a reach range no more than 48 inches high. In most emergency cases, evacuees are not expected to use shower or bathing facilities because they are only at the shelter for a short stay. But if you'd like to look at shower or bathing facilities to see if they're accessible, here are the details. Shower facilities need to be on an accessible route. Roll-in showers with benches should have controls within reach of the bench. For other accessible shower or bathtub features, such as size and clearance measurements, read the ADA's standards on the United States Access Board website by clicking the link on your screen. Portable toilets are common at emergency shelters as supplements to permanent restrooms. There must be at least one accessible unit. It must be on an accessible route. The entrance must not have a step-up or lip over half an inch. To open the door, there must be 18 inches of clear floor space on the latch side of the door. Inside the portable toilet should be side and rear grab bars and clear space next to the toilet for transferring.